Stirring my coffee with chopsticks using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee at the molecular level. We'll get into my Twitter, but first, coffee. Perfect. Heated up the cream in a pan. Put it in my thermos. Put it in here. This is Ethiopian and Guatemalan blended, ground together. So good. Oh, I just love cream in my coffee. Lord. Most days I do half and half. Today is actually cream. Well, it's a good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. Masculinity so toxic. Women were warned not to put it inside of them anymore. It'll never happen. Masculinity so toxic, the FDA had to take it off the market. It's almost becoming like a joke, a parody of itself. You know, I joked around for a while saying you can't tell the fake news from the real news. You can't make this shit up. Writers of The Onion and Babylon Bee are really getting a run for their money with quote-unquote real accepted journalism these days. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Masculinity that is being identified as toxic is just being an asshole. Like anyone can be an asshole. Anyone can be an asshole, men or women. Asshole seems to be owned by non-masculines at this point in history. It doesn't take much to be in the top 10%. First of all, if you're in shape. As a man, let me just talk to the men. If you're in shape as a man, you're in the top 10%. What brings you up to the 5%? Okay, looking good physically. 5% maybe the way you dress, how you groom yourself, your beard, your hair, your posture. What brings you into the top 1% as a man? It's your attitude. It's your approach in life, the little things that you do, the charm that you bring the world, the ingenuity that you bring. That's what makes you in the top 1%. I can help you with that. For ladies, what makes a woman be in the top 10%? Physical, having a body that is cared for. I didn't say thin. Cared for. Thin is not always equivalent with cared for. There are some people that are a little beefier than others. I have a tendency to be attracted to more curvy, not thick. That's a bullshit term for people who are just lazy. Thick equals lazy. I'm talking curvy. There are people who are genetically more curvy than others. And I tend to lean towards that person, towards that type of female. That's top 10%. Top 5%, how a woman dresses. I tend to like, for me, I tend to like the more classic styles on a woman. I tend to like things like Ann Taylor, that type of stuff. I'm not real trendy when it comes to I don't like trendy clothes on women, super trendy stuff. Mall brands, I like classic department store brands on women. I've always enjoyed things like Ann Taylor, Liz Claiborne. Those are the styles that tend to be a little more conservative. less revealing. To me, the more skin that shows, the less attractive a woman is. And then as far as top 1%, it's the same thing as men. Charm, how they view the world, how they treat the world. That's important. It's easy to get into the top 10%, a little bit harder to be top 5%. Top 1%, and I'm not talking about rating people on a scale of 1 to 10. When people, there's this thing in the men's community, oh, I met this woman, she was a 4 or she was an 8. Like, I'm not talking about that type of rating. I don't do that. I'm not interested in that. The women that I'm attracted to, nobody would ever consider to be, you know, high rated. I have a certain look that I like. And that's just what I go for. And I've dated supermodels, cheerleaders, playmates in my life. I've been around the world a couple times. And I find that when there is a natural biological attraction, nothing that I have to force, I find and I find when that is reciprocated, I find that when a woman is attracted to me, what would the word be? Instinctively, not knowing anything about me, I think those kind of relationships tend to work better. I want to be able to look at my woman across the kitchen and say, we got time right now? That's what I want. And that's what you want. That's what you want. I heard it said that when people get married, you should put a bean in a jar every time you have sex for the first year that you're married. At the end of the year, take that very same jar and then take a bean out every time you have sex. The jar will never be empty for your entire marriage. I heard someone say that once. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I would imagine that most people, and that is from an old day when people waited to have sex before they got married. You can imagine. Now, I would imagine more people are slamming it a lot more before they get married now. Very few people wait till they get married. Very few. I know one person that waited. And then the women that said, oh, I waited till I got married. I know a lot of those women. That means they didn't have intercourse until they were married. But they were doing many other things. And there's this arrogance that comes from, I never had sex. Yeah, okay, right. I'm not going to get into that right now. We are living in an era of woke capitalism, enlightened capitalism, where companies pretend to care about social justice to sell products to people who pretend to hate capitalism. Let that sink in. Fatherlessness tends to produce, 1, effeminate men or macho men, extremes. 2 sides of the same coin, men not knowing how to be masculine. The only ones lauding Gillette ad work and media and advertising everyone else sees it for what it is, a smarmy, condescending, virtue signaling aimed at the hardworking, decent men they've been price gouging for years. Greg Gutfeld. The piano sounds like a carnival, and the microphone smells like I took a poll. 61% said beer. 3% said a rose. 17% said a shot of whiskey. 19% said thoughts. Her. I love my big hair. I'm a child of the 80s. Also her. I think I'm going to get a short haircut, maybe a pixie. Me? Crickets. Is your Twitter handle the name that is on your driver's license? I took a poll. 28% said yes. 63% said no. 9% said Nibiru. So about 1/4 of the people that you are following on Twitter, that's their actual name. Interesting, right? You know you swiped right on a ghastly looking photo on a dating site. And you said, "Oh, poor thing," as you were swiping right. Just kind of a, what would it be? A mercy swipe, just to make them feel better. "Oh, poor thing." You know you've done that. Name songs that sound like each other, or maybe where a band ripped off another. Jet Airliner by Steve Miller Band sounds like Crossroads by Cream, Eric Clapton. I'm Gonna Leave by Journey sounds like Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas. Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin sounds like what? Put your answer down below. Hint, Muddy Waters. After he blessed the Big Macs, he multiplied them to feed the multitudes. I'm loving it. Last time I checked, Gillette still makes pink razors for females and blue razors for men. Are you saying that men and women might be different? If you were going to redefine femininity in the same way you see this campaign to redefine masculinity, how would you redefine femininity? What would you do? Put it in your comments down below, please. I don't think femininity needs to be redefined, nor do I think masculinity needs to be redefined. I know feminine when I see it. It's like porn. You know it when you see it. Big Mac sales went through the roof yesterday. We know that for a fact, and probably will for the next few days. Ballots, not bullets. Fair and square. That's the uniqueness of our society. Anyone who thinks violence and pushing and pain and coercion is going to work is going to lose. You're going to lose. Ballots, not bullets. The coexist, namaste, and anti-whatever people are always the first ones to throw a rock. Case in point, Twitter. If you could only have one, I took a poll, if you could only have one, what would it be? Internet or books? 65% said internet, 35% said books. I'm happy to be part of the 35%. Some will now start shaving their beards because it could be misconstrued as a symbol of masculinity. Austin might end up being the most clean-shaven city in America. I haven't used a fountain pen in literally 50 years, literally half a century. Then 2 months ago, I got a fountain pen. So on my 2019 to-do list was to be able to write better. Now I can write. I've written thousands of pages for myself and for other people as a ghostwriter and for magazines and catalogs. I'm talking literally improving the look and appearance of my writing on paper, my cursive, which they no longer teach in schools. Some do, I hope. Hence, fountain pens. They make me slow down and think about what I'm writing. And while I'm doing that, I don't have to grip a tubular item and press down. It's almost like you're creating a new muscle memory where you're just almost letting the weight of the pen deposit the ink. You press down when you want to emphasize and make a thicker line. But I'm learning, it's almost like I'm learning how to write all over again. And this is where I'm finding that quality pens are less effortless. Less effortless. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Are effortless to write with. Someone says, well, that's why they made gel pens. Not the same thing. I don't care what anyone says. Not the same thing. It's happening. The Tortoise and the Hare 2019 version. I am the hare. Johnny Smashcake says, perfect equation right there. Loving your YouTube vids. Most entertaining. That empire is just around the corner. The empire. Keep them coming. You've created a unique platform. There's something for everyone, even though they're naturally polarized. You're wagging the dog like a boss. The haters are hating and the fans are buzzing. Everybody's talking about George Bruno. Can't wait for a Rogan-style podcast. One-on-one with the Sultan. You could get Neil deGrasse Tyson on as your first guest and discuss the virtues of the vortex method at the molecular level. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Thank you, Johnny Smashcake. Healthy masculinity. I'm going to define it. Not denying your emotions, but delaying them. It's not about being a stone-cold prick. Women say they like a man who's in touch with their emotions. Bullshit. They want to rock. They don't want to read blowing in the wind. They want something solid. And I know some of you go your own way types are like, well, don't do anything for a woman. Like I said, don't be a prick or a jerk. It's MGTOW, not jerktow. Masculinity has its source at the molecular level. Machismo is superficial and only skin deep. Machismo is a defense mechanism response to fear of not being masculine, and it's a social construct. Macho is the social construct, not masculinity. Just the sound of cable news can actually make you sick by increasing stress and lowering your immune response. It's a 100% biological response to chaos. That's all you get when you put on the news is chaos. Put on Bob Ross and the Joy of Painting. Case in point. See if you feel different after watching Bob Ross than you do when putting on CNN or Fox. Your body will have a different response. Barrier island living with beach and bay or river access, perfect. On my to-do list for 2019. And let's read something from the blog today. While I have another sip of this magnificent cup of coffee. Absolutely loving this. I'm not sure if I'm going to get back into blogging or writing articles for people. Your books or the internet, which do you love more? A man's books. I have a library. I mean it. I have a library, a real library. An entire wall of books, 15 feet long, 8 feet high. It's, you know how sometimes people in a rec room or a living room will paint one wall like a bright red or a dramatic hunter green, and they call that an accent wall. My accent wall is a wall of books. I forget who said, a room without books is like a body without a soul. I love books. There was a time when I could bet that I was the most well-read person in my circle. I read everything. I had 5 to 8 books consistently on my nightstand at all times for over 25 years. I read it all from history to logic to fiction to sci-fi, theology, philosophy, math, science, art, and comics too. When I was married, the light on my nightstand was always the last one off because of my reading. Today, just about everything that I have can be found on the web, somehow, some way. In just a second. I've debated whether I should keep all my books when I can just Google anything that I want. I am Google's biggest fan, and I like a nice, simplified living space without clutter. Because of that, I've gone through phases where I've been tempted to get rid of my books. In 1986, I graduated from a university with a master's degree in education. And a woman I know gave me a parchment in a frame that I still have to this day. She knew my books. She said, reading on wise and virtuous subjects next to prayer, the best improvement of our hearts. It enlightens us, calms us, collects our thoughts, and prompts us to better efforts. We say that a man is known by the friends he keeps, but a man is known better by his books. William Law. I have that. She did calligraphy and put it in a frame, and that's hanging on the wall in my library. I think I'm going to keep my books. What are your thoughts on books? Put your comments down below. That might be redefined today. We say that a man is known by the friends he keeps, but a man is known better by his search engine history. What would be more incriminating against you? I'm asking you a question. Your search engine history or the data on your phone? Would you allow your significant other to look at your search engine history or give them complete access to your phone? What would you do? Put a comment down below. I would love to hear that. Tomorrow we're going to talk about fishing, for those of you that like fishing, men and women, young and old alike. I have a lot of insights of how fishing spills over into everyday life. 2019 is the year that you get unstuck. 2020 is the year that you could make your first million. You're tired of working for people. You're tired of working in a cube farm. You're tired of swinging a hammer. You're tired of dragging yourself to a job in a mall, in a store, in an office, in a lab, selling, driving, wherever. You might be the kind of person that could be self-employed. It takes a lot of discipline to do that. Many people have jobs because it provides structure for them. For instance, if you don't know what to do when you're not working, you probably are not a good candidate for self-employment, which means that you have to value every block of time throughout your day. Jobs, most people work jobs 8 hours. They put in their 8 hours or their 40 hours a week. If you're self-employed, most people work like myself. Literally, I work anywhere between 12 and 14 hours a day. And I love that lifestyle. I'm productive and I'm doing what I love to do. As a full-time content creator and an almost full-time 3 days a week person in the hair industry, I love what I do. It gives me energy, strength, excitement. I jump out of bed. I never say, oh shit, I have to do a video today. I wake up and say, I get to do videos today. I never wake up on my salon days and say, oh crap, I have to go cut hair. I wake up and say, I get to cut hair today. I get to change people and transform them. That's why, as a content creator, it's very difficult at first if you're thinking of ever going in this direction because you don't see the after effect. I know when I cut people's hair, for instance, they come in looking one way, they leave looking a different. So within the space of 1 hour, they look great. And you'll see on my Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, please follow me on Instagram at George A. Bruno. You'll see I do some before and after shots, and I love my clientele. People come from 21 or 22 states? I forget. I'm losing track. 21 or 22 states and 8 countries to come be fixed up by me, transformed by me. I always say this, people don't pay for a haircut. They pay for a transformation. And that's what I do. You should see some of the work on some of the people I have. It's magnificent, if I can say so myself. It's not bragging if you can do it. Let me put it that way. And I'm always happy to teach it as well. But on your days off, if you find yourself floundering or just doing stuff around the house, self-employment is not for you at all. You need the structure. You need someone to be telling you what to do at every moment and looking over your shoulder. When you're self-employed, there's a couple cool things that happen. Number one, you're going to make more money because it's yours. You're going to be passionate about what you're doing. And number two, you can learn discipline. You can learn it if you don't have it. It can be a disaster though, and then you'll just end up back on Indeed.com looking for a job or calling the old boss back saying, hey, it didn't work out. Can I have my job back? But 2019 can be the year that you get unstuck in relationships, in finances, in logistics, geographically. Do you like where you're living? You can change that. You can be unrecognizable by this time next year. That's your goal, your mission, if you choose to accept it. And with that, I'm going to say, finish your coffee. And I'll see you tomorrow.